Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. This is Igil Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formal, it's Miss Jennifer Frederick, another edition of Levy Togi Ting. People say it is Wednesday. The week is almost over. So let me start. People on Facebook, I really forgot to put up the post today, but I hope you all want to see the ad right. I'm not forgetting you all, love you all. You know, always my peeps, right? And those who on Bounce Up channel, love you all too, for always giving me that support also. Because I didn't even know you used to have people on Bounce Up giving support back in the day. So I want to thank you all for always giving not only me, but all the programs on Bounce Up, you know, Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance and all the other programs with Fearless Warrior. So thank you all so much. And thanks to the director again for giving me this opportunity to be here on this platform. So let me start the thing right now. People got have plenty things to talk. Plenty things. And we must do the pledge, especially now, more than ever. It is important that we understand the reason for our anthem and our pledge. This month being the 63rd anniversary of us being an independent state, and some people want us to go back to enslavement, indentureship, and to the colonial masters. We must never, ever give up our sovereignty, our freedom, our independence, or republicanism. Those are things that we must hold on and guard tightly because every other country does it. The national pledge.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I will honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, and my elders, and those in authority. I will be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. I will strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country.
So I do love my country also. And you know, I always like to give a little good news. No matter what's happening in the world, there's always something to celebrate. And we must also celebrate our own. So this year's young Liam Carrington. It was a couple of days ago, but it's still relevant. Liam Carrington representing Trinidad and Tobago. They said here this was in the Express, August 24, 2025. Liam Carrington ended his and team's TTO campaign at the 2025 World Aquatics Junior Swimming Championship in Otopeni, Romania, with another national record but no medal. Carrington competed in the 200-meter backstroke, placing 22nd out of 76 competitors with a time of 2 minutes, 04.48 seconds, which established a new national record. The previous record was 2.04.88. Earlier in the meet, Carrington had also set national and age group records in the 50-meter backstroke and national 15 to 17 age group record in the 100-meter back. So congratulations there to our young Leon Carrington and his success, although not medaling in Romania, he would have broken or broken national records. And we continue to give him that type of encouragement. His coaches, his family, I'm sure, working very hard to make sure that he understands the importance of the sport that he's in and also representing his country and doing well to be able to hold that red, black, and white. So let me continue. I also saw that this was donated to the President, Our Excellency. Let me play it. Let me put it back again because this is so. All right. The reason why I played it back again is because I wanted you all to get a good look. So the new coat of arms featuring the steel pan was built entirely out of Lego blocks, was presented to the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Christine Carla Kangaloo, on Tuesday. Designed by the Lego Club of Trinidad and Tobago, the piece contains 36,864 bricks. In a heartfelt speech, President Kangaloo expressed pride in the club's achievement, noting that the young creators have reinforced and demonstrated what it means to be a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So it was those youngsters there who you see there, they are the ones who would have designed that totally and entirely out of Lego blocks. It is the new coat of arms with the steel pan. Even the young trainer now understand that we have a new logo in place with the steel pan, but this new government continues to be showing up in places with the logo with the 3 ships. So I want to ask again, are they comfortable with the thought of the former colonial masters running things again and we becoming enslaved and then going back as indentured laborers? I just asking a question. So let me continue. Now this, what I'm going to play here today, it warmed my heart because it really and truly, you cannot just judge a book by its cover because it may very well surprise you in some cases. Listen to this.
So some of y'all might know this lady.
I'm DJ Heaven King, Brother Jesus. And I'm going to sing this when I'm going to studios with Chromatics. And if I hear the song, you don't know Jesus Christ, just go on your knees and praise him to the max. And if in these times you don't know Jesus Christ, go on your knees and praise him to the max.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of y'all catching all the drones and comments and kicks on social media. But you know what? She actually did come in the studio with her hard-earned money and paid for her studio time. And we did this.
All these pieces broken and scattered, in mercy gathered, mended and whole. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, the world to see your love in me. Oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. How was the once lost, but now I am found. I was blind, but now I see. Oh, I
So yeah, Chromatics Music Studio and Rehearsal Room located in El Socorro, Trinidad and Tobago. Come through. We're gonna make your song nice. Yeah.
That brought tears to my eyes, really and truly. People laugh at her and all that, and she got her own money and she went to the studio and look what happened. And Chronics, you see, I give you a nice letter added to one thing, yeah, but bless up to that lady and continue to be an angel with that voice. Let me tell you something. Gifts come wrapped in different packages. And some people don't realize that, and they just look at the external and make a judgment without knowing the fullness and the truth. So congratulations to that lady there. I don't know her name. I just have it on angel voice lady. So let me continue on some issues here. I saw something, somebody posted something on Facebook and it spoke about a former president of America, Richard Nixon, and how he would have thought about. Let me read it for you. It's just a little thing. So it says here, this was in www.decanherald.com. It says here, snubbed by Indira, Nixon never forgive India. Former US President Richard Nixon was baffled and annoyed by American sympathies for India, which he described as a physiological disorder. Says a new book based on declassified documents. Right, so let me just see. Okay, so let me open the next article. So this here is from www.reddit.com. So I'm telling you my source. So if I have a problem with what I'm saying, go to them and tell them what them put there. They shouldn't put it there. Okay? So it said here, Richard Nixon hated India. He called Indira Gandhi a witch, described Indians as slippery and treacherous, and openly sided with Pakistan during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. His national security advisor and later Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, shared this sentiment, referring to Indians as bastards and criticizing Indira Gandhi's leadership. Both viewed India as arrogant, pro-Soviet, and an obstacle to their Cold War strategy, leading to US support for Pakistan, despite reports of atrocities in East Pakistan. The root of his deep personal grudge might go back to the 1950s when Jawaharlal Nehru snubbed Nixon, treating him like an unimportant diplomat. So that's just a little history there. And sometimes people put up stuff, and when I go and I research it, I come up with these and get these things because that's something I never knew about. So, okay, let me continue. So, we hold into the situation with where Kamala Prasad, the Prime Minister, would have committed Trinidad. They said Trinidad, but we are Trinidad and Tobago, they said Trinidad. And she was willing, if Venezuela are putting it my way, even look in the direction of Guyana and any problems, that she's willing to allow the Americans to be on our soil to carry out attacks against Venezuela. That's basically what it is. She's saying so. She committed we to that. I'm a citizen here, I never committed to that. I'm committed to, if America is here in our waters, to treat with narco drug trafficking and all that, because I've always supported countries in the Caribbean to treat with, whether through training and different initiatives and different exhibitions, whatever, with the tattoo and the whatever, to treat with that. So it's nothing new. But the thought about letting them come on we land to carry out attacks against another suffering country, right? The framers of the Constitution, and when they fight for the Shagaramas down there and all other agreements and arrangements signed with America, I am confident it was never for America to come on we soil to attack nobody. I've never seen that written anywhere. I know they have always helped, because they are country that help, they will come and help you build bridge and school and this and expertise and this and that and training. They have always done that. That's quite okay. You see the other part? Me know nothing more that na papa. So, Kamala Prasad, for me as a citizen, she owned with that conversation, that particular piece of conversation. So, security expert, government have planned in case US-Venezuela tension escalated. So this was in the Guardian here, and it says here, regional security expert Dr. Gavin Hira says with United States warship bound for the region with a mandate to tackle drug cartels in neighboring Venezuela, the government must now strategize on the next step should things get worse. Hira yesterday said, while the presence of naval ship in the region was not new, the tension between Venezuela and the US may cause some to be concerned. With that, he said, the leaders should have a plan should the routine presence change to a conflict zone. There are consequences when it's related to a conflict zone, especially if there is some sort of action or what we call activities related to the assembling of the forces. This is my concern. This is not necessarily one of fear or one that needs to be escalated into panic or anxiety, but it is also a concern for our decisions, our decision makers, our researchers, the strategists of Homeland Security and Defense. Hira said, it has strategists there. I just asked, I'm just asking. I'm hoping that at this time, there are some exploratory conditions, and we are looking at what if situation and how we should be acting as a country in the event that this thing goes left or right. After the announcement that naval ships were deployed to this region, Venezuela has been enlisting people in the country's military or militia, and in the event of a need arises to defend their land. The combination of events raises concern that conflict may erupt. Hira said that this should be looked at objectively. The geopolitics of it all is that there is a lot of stuff happening in the background with regards to oil and gas and then the economy of the world. And we have to understand where the role that Venezuela plays in that sort of production and provision. And we also have to understand all of the key players and button pushers of the world and the interest in oil and gas and energy. Meanwhile, former National Security Minister Gary Griffith, okay, so I leave in Mr. Hira, who's the expert, right? So that is Mr. Hira saying that there, Gavin Hira. I could do without reading of it, Gary Griffith. Also saying this too, this is an international expert. I didn't know we have so much expert now, Papa. Listen to this one.
The international relations expert warns that the United States sees the Caribbean as its third border and stresses the region must take this seriously. He believes President Donald Trump is ready to stand his ground and he's not bluffing. Henry says this cannot be a one-way transaction.
We have to become sober and pragmatic. So my question is, for the Honorable Prime Minister to volunteer to unsolicitedly present our region and more so our nation as a launching pad to support or defend any probable attack, the question has to be had, to what benefit? What is the benefit that Trinidad has received or will receive to be, placing a welcome mat to the U.S.?
He points out that international negotiations, whether with Russia or India, always involve trade-offs. Henry highlights recent talks between President Putin and the U.S. President. He questions the motives behind taking a military stance, warning that without clear benefits, the strategy appears highly questionable.
We must take an all-aligned strategy, whereby, yes, we remain friends, very cordial with the United States, but we have our neighbors. Because the truth is, to the Honorable Prime Minister's position, I would remind her, this was the same Prime Minister who said that When it comes to drugs and crime, it's not on the seas, it's on the nation streets. But now, 10 years later, it's relevant and it's imminent, and we are willing to invite some form of conflagration.
Henry warns that the region remains vulnerable and stresses that the government must be cautious in every move it makes in such high-stakes situations.
Any type of conflagration that happens in Venezuela, Trinidad will not be spared of its consequences, be it trade, be it people, and I am not aware that our government has any sort of arrangement in place to deal with such conflagrations and such an outpouring of people, of guns, of any form of displacement. So we have to be very sober of our statements.
Nicole M. Romani, TV6 News.
Right? And by all accounts, we don't have a sober prime minister. I didn't say so. So let me read again, because these things are important, These things are important in the scope of things now, because we need people to be rational in their thinking. It's just like the stand your ground laws. There's paint in one picture, but if you dig beneath the surface, we should be concerned. And they're rushing this thing along. And where's the consultation in other areas that are not UNC areas? They are the government at Trinidad and Tobago, so they shouldn't just be going to their constituencies alone that people voted for them. Because if some people other than UNC people, because not everybody who vote for UNC is a strong supporter of UNC, that people vote for UNC because they don't want to vote for PNM because they're damn big. You know, the thing does go. So I don't think it should be a strategy just to talk to UNC stronghold about standing on. That should be for everybody. I hear Saddam Hussein bowling something effect. The opposition leader should not be dependent, paraphrasing, on the government to be going to the areas that they went to tell about standing ground laws. But what is the government of Trinidad and Tobago? All they run things, all they have the money. Talk to everybody. Yes, the opposition leader and the PNM could have their meetings with the constituent, but this is a nation thing, not a party thing. So if it's a government thing, it's all citizens. If it's a party thing, well, the PNM go and talk to the members about it. But you can't pull the PNM into that. But that is how they just think. They don't care about no PNM. Even the color red just had them up on why will they spray this color red? So you know why red is victory. Red is victory and conquering good over evil. Good conquer evil. The blood of Jesus. They have a problem with that. So let me read this. TNT, reckless unilateral stance on US-Venezuela standoff is a betrayal of CARICOM. This was about like yesterday, August the 26th, Tuesday, so yesterday. So it says here the government position as expounded, and this is from Wyatt. The government position as expounded by the Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister is not neutrality by any diplomatic or regional standard. Authority without principle, without consultation, and without regard for CARICOM, unity and regional peace is not leadership. It is a recklessness masquerading as sovereignty. In just 2 days, the government of Trinidad and Tobago issued 2 conflicting and deeply troubling statements on the escalating US-Venezuela standoff. On the 23rd of August, Foreign Affairs Minister Sean Sobers declared a non-interventionist stance, dismissing regional concerns and downplaying the presence of US warships near Venezuela water. I tell you, he does sound just how he does look. In less than 24 hours later, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar pledged support for US military action in the Caribbean, even offering Trinidadian territory should Guyana request assistance against Venezuela. This abrupt shift from passive neutrality to active alignment without consultation on CARICOM signals a dangerous erosion of regional solidarity. The Prime Minister's assertion that Trinidad and Tobago has no intention of engaging CARICOM on this matter is not just diplomatically reckless, it is a direct dismissal of the framework that has long defined Caribbean unity and collective security. This posture also disregards the region's commitment to peace as championed by Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Her call to preserve the Caribbean in a zone as a zone of peace stands in stark contrast to Trinidad and Tobago's refusal to engage CARICOM while signaling support for foreign military action. That refusal fractures a shared vision and jeopardizes both our diplomatic sovereignty and our standing as a trusted CARICOM partner. The government's stand also breaks with the principle upheld by ALBA, the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of our America, founded by Venezuela, Cuba, ALBA, founded by Venezuela and Cuba. ALBA promotes solidarity, sovereignty, and resistance to foreign intervention. Trinidad and Tobago unilateral posture undermines these values and marks a troubling departure from the Caribbean's tradition of principled diplomacy. Equally troubling is the silence from coalition partners, especially those with roots in trade unionism and historic ties with the Bolivarian movement. Many once championed solidarity with Venezuela's socialist experiment, citing shared struggles against imperialism and exploitation. Where are their voices now? Has political expediency eclipsed ideological conviction? Yes, it has. That is my opinion. I say so. It's my opinion that yes, it has. They're eating our food. They're eating at the table where the bourgeoisie class that they used to scorn. When they used to be fighting for labor and workers, they used to tell me that the government and the business people is the bourgeoisie class. And while I'm eating the best and drinking the best and all the money that the working class eating crumbs. Now today, them is the same bourgeoisie and the workers eating crumbs. I set a blasted hypocrites. I'm saying it again. Well, I set a blasted hypocrites, Roger. And he said, well, the only person here saying something is Abdullah. Where all you? Where the Ray Batista, Felicia Thomas? Where all you? All you sick and nasty. A bunch of nastiness. That is what all is. Money go buy everything. Money go buy everything for you. All have no blasted ethics, no morals, no values, nothing. All you like dogs. Nothing called PNM people dog, rabbit dog. I calling some of them union leaders who mouth shut up today. All there's dogs. All dogs. All you have no shame. All you turn around and eat the vomit at the bourgeoisie. And today all you sitting there with them. All you set a dog. That the dogs naked should be talking about. That the dogs naked should be talking about. Let me continue. The government's framing of U.S. military deployment is a response to terrorist drug cartels, ignores deeper geopolitical realities and the lived trauma of communities worldwide. Wherever America advances its agenda under the guise of counterterrorism, narcotics control, or humanitarian aid. These narratives has long enabled foreign powers to pursue strategic interests under the cloak of global concern, leaving behind instability, broken sovereignty, and lasting trauma across the developing world. Despite repeated warnings from regional bodies, these pretexts continue to justify military presence and intervention, often at the expense of peace, dignity, and self-determination. As Trinidad and Tobago marks 63 years of independence, this movement demands more than silence or submission. Our sovereignty was not gifted, it was earned. It must be defended not only from external threats, but from internal decisions that erode our voice, betray our values, and isolate us from the region we helped build. The government's position, as expounded by the Prime Minister and the Foreign Affairs Minister, is not neutrality by any diplomatic or regional standard. It is a clear departure from CARICOM principles and a strategic alignment with US military interests, offered without consultation, and it diminishes our independence, distorts our value, and fractures our credibility across the Caribbean. Yes, the government may claim it acted within the natural prerogative and authority. Yes, the government may claim it acted within its national prerogative and authority, but the power to choose does not absolve the duty to consult. Authorities without principle, without consultation, without regard for CARICOM unity and regional peace is not leadership. It is recklessness masquerading as sovereignty. Trinidad and Tobago must not become a pawn in a larger geopolitical game. Our foreign policy should reflect peace, sovereignty, and regional cooperation, our submission to external agenda. That there was from Wired. So let me continue. So I'm seeing here also, everybody's speaking out, people are speaking out about it, but who's listening? So this was 2 days ago in The Guardian, and people saw this as a venturing into dangerous territory. It is one thing for Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor to express her government's support for the United States warships combing the Caribbean seas. I really need to change these glasses. It is one thing for Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor to express her government's support for the United States warship combing the Caribbean seas, reportedly in search of the drug cartels in Latin America. It's another matter entirely to be distant and insulting CARICOM member states. No amount of Trump's derangement syndrome tantrums and anti-American propaganda will prevent my government from welcoming assistance to combat terrorist drug cartels, PM Persad-Bissessor said in her statement on the matter on Saturday. She went further to seek to undermine the long-stated CARICOM position of neutrality and the insistence on the region remaining a zone of peace against any possible conflict-generating actions resulting from the U.S. military deployment against the alleged terrorist cartel. Further, the Prime Minister went against one of the fundamental principles upon which the CARICOM integration movement was formed, that being the harmonization of member states on foreign policy matters, stating that her government will not be engaging CARICOM on the issue. Each member state can speak for itself. All of the above displays a quite unnecessarily aggressive position on this critical matter by the TNT government in relation to its CARICOM partners. Many commentators on international affairs have interpreted the sending of the US military warships into the Caribbean as an attempt to crush President Nicolas Maduro regime in Venezuela, which it has deemed to be a drug cartel. To substantiate that position, the US has offered a US $50 million bounty for information on the Venezuelan leader. We have good bilateral relationship with both countries, the US and Venezuela, and we intend on keeping that way, stated Prime Minister Persad-Bissessor, in obvious contradiction to her often stated support for Washington against Caracas. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessor's statement comes in direct contrast to the far more measured and less hostile position of a foreign and CARICOM minister, Sean Sobers. He must now be in line for a dressing down by his prime minister. Or perhaps the intention of the TNT government is to throw the two reactions out there as a means of seeming to balance TNT's reaction to the US warship in the Caribbean Sea and the possibility of conflict in the region. Whatever the determination of the Persad-Bissessor's government on the presence of American warships in waters proximate to Venezuela and in the context of the very well-known conflicting relations between Washington and Caracas, there's absolutely no need for the government in Port of Spain to land itself so vigorously in sync with the Trump administration. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessor has compounded her zealous support for the US by her antagonism displayed to fellow CARICOM member states, and to do so without any direct provocation from those countries. The near hysteria displayed by the Prime Minister lacks statecraft, balanced responses, and the need for small countries such as ours within CARICOM to engage diplomacy in international relations. without seeking to ingratiate itself with one's country, ingratiate itself with one country while being hostile to another. Moreover, for Trinidad and Tobago to treat the CARICOM partners in such a degrading manner is also ill-advised. Notwithstanding the known shortcomings of CARICOM, the integration movement remains an absolute solid base for member states in an international environment often hostile to the interests of small states. This was an editorial, right? Everybody's speaking out, And what's the sad thing about it? Our young athletes were just a part of CARIFTA. CARIFTA is a part of CARICOM. We just have all them games and all these things happening a part of CARICOM. Then we should not send no Trinidadians to no CARIFTA. If we saw opposed to CARICOM, this government so opposed to CARICOM and everybody speak for themselves, you should not be a part of nothing that celebrates CARICOM, that celebrates our region. We'll call this sick, yes. Even ministers coming out and talking against this. So this was a couple of days ago. I'm going to read the whole thing. Newsday, former PP ministers cautious after PM statement in Venezuela. Former People's Partnership Attorney General Gavin Nicholas, who got 10 days, has sounded a note of caution on an August 20th statement by Prasad Bissessa expressing support for the U.S. naval deployment in the Southern Caribbean Sea outside of Venezuela territorial waters. In a Facebook post, Nicholas said, "I am absolutely unambiguously in support of eliminating crime and making Trinidad and Tobago the safest country in the world to live. This has always been my objective." But he added, "The undisputed reality is that there is no military in history, nor will there be any in the future that can bomb drug cartels or gangs out of existence. While Trinidad and Tobago could benefit from greater vigilance of the waters between its coast and the Southern American coast," Nicholas said. The South American coast, Nicholas said. "It is, however, important to remember that the USA cannot eliminate or couldn't eliminate the Taliban in Afghanistan by bombing them." He added, "The Israeli Defense Force could not dislodge the Hamas terrorist group, even after killing over 400,000 Palestinians, and Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was only Let me read that again. He added that Israeli Defense Force could not dislodge the Hamas terrorist group, even after killing over 400,000 Palestinians. And Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was only removed from power after 100,000 Iraqis were killed. Imagine 400,000 Trinidadians being killed in some bombing thing because Kamala Prasad Bissessa, if this thing escalates, God forbid it does not, and they come, Americans come on with soil and they start the war, and 400,000 Trinidadians get killed, and another 100,000. And as Nicholas said, I agree. I too support the efforts to try to get this thing, this scourge we have on our land in the Caribbean, everything, and whatever help the US could give, I'm all for that. But as he said, in a war, escalating war, wars and bombing countries and stuff has never lessened the drug trade or crime or drug cartels or gangs out of existence. We had World War II, we had World War I, we had all these different ones, and they're still there. So that is not the approach, in my opinion, and I agree with Gavin Nicholas. Hey, let me see what again. So Hussein was removed, Saddam Hussein was removed from power following the US-led invasion of Iraq in March 2003, which toppled his regime. He was captured by US forces in December 2003 and subsequently faced trial for crimes against humanity, leading to his execution in 2006. Nicholas said, "The Mexican border is the main entry point for illegal drugs entering the US from South and Central America, not the Venezuelan border." Let me read that again. Gavin Nicholas said, "The Mexican border is the main entry point for illegal drugs entering the US and South and Central America, not the Venezuelan border. The Trump administration," he continued, "has been clear that its aim is regime change in Venezuela. Nicholas said, history is clear as to the USA aims in oil and gas giants like Venezuela. The rhetoric of bringing democracy, he continued, has been used conveniently but inconsistently over decades. He said in recent times, the US has shown that it has no moral authority to speak on issues of democracy or law and order, both domestically and internationally. As a small island state, we must understand that our strengths come from reliable partners with common interests. And then they said here, the former TNT High Commissioner to the UK, Nicholas, said the UK recent visa imposition on the US 15% tariff on TNT and other utterances have shown neither country to be the kind of partners we can rely on. So I will leave that there. A lot to digest. I'm just reading one more and then I'm moving on to something. Because we need to know, we need to understand. We need to get the information. So this is from a international relations expert, Professor Andy Knight. This was in the news there 3 days ago. I'll read a little part. International relations expert Professor Andy Knight says Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar and her government do not appear to understand the real agenda of the US towards Venezuela. He expressed this view in relation to a statement by Persad-Bissessar on August the 23rd, which supported the deployment of US naval vessels in the southern Caribbean seas outside of Venezuelan territorial waters. In her statement, Persad-Bissessar also said if the US requested use of TNT territory for military operation should Venezuela invade Guyana, TNT would grant such requests. Guyana and Venezuela have had a long-standing border dispute over the Essequibo region between them, which stretches back decades. In a WhatsApp message or comment on August 24th, Knight said, there is not much thinking by her and her cabinet with respect to what the Trump administration is doing here. The US is signaling a strong presence and readiness to respond to perceived threats, particularly drug trafficking and regional instability. Nothing is legally wrong with the current location of the vessels because they are in international waters. But Knight said positioning closer to another nation's coastline is highly sensitive and could be interpreted as coercion or intimidation. Basically, what we are witnessing here is yet another attempt by the Trump administration to deflect attention away from Pedogate, the problem of his association with child rapist Jeffrey Epstein. Knight claimed Trump is using his power as president of the US to throw a lot of things at the wall in the hope that something would stick. It is nothing more than a diversionary tactic to shift attention away from the Epstein scandal in which Trump seems to be embroiled. He said, while the US frames this as counter-narcotics, the deployment can also be seen as a show of force. Such a military presence, Knight continues, heightens tension in the region and could easily be perceived as escalation, especially by Caracas. This is not good for the Caribbean as a region. There can be unintended effects of this Trump administration action. Knight cited Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro call up of 4.5 million militia members in response to the deployment as an example. He said, what we will witness is an escalation of tension between Venezuela and the US, and it could also risk driving wedges between Caribbean countries, which is my main concern. Persad-Bissessar said TNT has not engaged CARICOM on the matter, would not do so, and every member state can speak for itself. TNT holds a regional national security portfolio in CARICOM, quasi-cabinet. Knight said, regional unity is critical at this point in our history, when we as Caribbean people are trying to address shared challenges and promote our own economic development. He added, we cannot afford to have our leaders be at cross purposes on such important matters as maintaining the Caribbean space as a space of peace. He said a little more, but I will leave it there. Everybody basically who have common sense and sober thinking speaking about a zone of peace. And this prime minister, like she wants a zone of war. So imagine this was 6 hours ago in TV6.com. It says here, the Prime Minister is this evening maintaining that this country continues to have a good relationship with Venezuela. This despite a recent statement that her government supports the deployment of U.S. troops or U.S. military assets near the waters of Venezuela. And she's also saying TNT still seeks gas from Venezuela. So I just want to say something quickly here. It clearly shows that our Prime Minister, they're seeing, this is my opinion, there's some kind of break in reality. Because she has been calling President Maduro a narco terrorist or something like that. So at one time he had to ask why she's saying these things about me, that when she was in opposition. In office now, she's welcoming the Americans in the waters, Caribbean waters. They are saying that it's for narco terrorism and for drugs and all that. And we say, okay, that is what it is, fine. But she leave it as that. She went on to say, if Venezuela invade Guyana, she's willing to allow or give him permission to allow the Americans to come on we land, which is about 7 miles away from Venezuela. We land for the fight between Venezuela and the Americans on we land. And after saying all that, you're coming to say now that we have always had good relations with Venezuela, the PNM government and successive governments before, but not your government. The things you're saying, that what good relation Venezuela is going to have with you. But I'm going to drop a little something and leave it because I'm asking a question. And she's saying that this government still interested in the Dragon deal. So let me put everything together and they could form their own opinion. So she's saying America could come on our soil and fight Venezuela. The experts and them, you hear they talking about this could be about regime change. Now she's saying that she welcome. She's still interested in Dragon gas, and that Trinidad and Tobago have good relations with Venezuela. Them things don't add up. But I'm putting it here again, some say regime change. She want, if anything with Venezuela and Guyana, that the US come here and sort it out, fight military thing, whatever. We don't have a military strength. Anything felt across from there to here, we go feel effects, not America. America far from here. It's just the troops who here will be fighting, whatever the case may be. And she talking about Dragon deal. Them always have the UNC, in my opinion, come up as Sunday. It doesn't look like madness they're talking. But them just have a plan, you know. I ask that question, is it that they're in support of some hostile regime change, and that if it goes ting, that now they will be able to deal, they will get some deal from the US now because they told the US they could come and we land and fight. And so is it they make some deal? I just asking a question because it's not singing right. I just asking a question, Papa. All you fill in the dots, you see like S, T, and P, and you could put that one in the middle because you fill in the dots, all you fill in the dots. All you fill in the dots. Me, Papa. So this is from one called Mr. Lennox Shamchoy. I'm just going to read it here quickly. I like his writings, and also Mr. Dihani. Mr. Dihani. How can we ever trust the UNC government? Because of our two-party system and the UNC hatred for the PNM, dunces will defend their leader no matter what she does. No intelligent person can defend this silly woman with her fake empathy and her sowing of chaos, disunity, and evil. And also her lack of moral values when it comes to people with whom she surrounds herself. The only qualification required is her shared hatred of the PNM. Kamala's administration is overloaded with obsequious oafs who wants vilified her in the worst way. Having swallowed their regurgitated bile, they are once more conveniently accepted into her bosom. Now these little men have become public punchlines and political jokes to citizens. They garner no respect from the public because of their fawning and fealty with the arrows of zealots to Kamala and their willingness to bend the knees and kiss her. For we trust these opportunists for position of power. Therefore, how can we trust these opportunists to prioritize the needs of the society over their own personal ambition? Oh God, I'll have to get a dictionary when I read it, what's his name? Mr. Lennox Shamchoy. I hope I'm doing your piece justice, sir. In addition to this, we live in a deeply polarized country where political, ethnic, and ideological divisions run deep. Therefore, the intentional unilateral decision not to consult with the opposition and to communicate honestly with citizens create even more mistrust. Telling the PNN that they can host their own independence commemoration is just adding fuel to the fire. This asinine and callous statement has far-reaching and damaging consequences for national unity, trust in leadership, and social stability. Coupled with the halt of the replacement of the three ships of our national instrument, the steel pan. Some citizens view this as a total rejection of their identity and history. These actions by the government are often viewed through the lens of suspicion, thereby creating even more distrust. That is why the two-party system is failing, and why the electorate is or has become disenchanted and fed up with it. What is even more disconcerting is the government failure to assert control and its willingness to cede its authority to the criminals who seek to terrorize the nation through fear and aggression. What the majority of citizens are demanding is that the government show that they are in control and that any threat will be dealt with a complete and relentless force of the law, not cower under the blanket of SOE. How did we get here? According to the Guardian opinion, media reports suggest that criminals who pumped money into the recent general election campaign have sought payback through sweetheart deals. And therein lies the rub. Instead of condemning such corrupt shenanigans, UNC supporters condone everything the UNC does, even this division in our society, which is being driven by their party leadership. The membership view it in the context that the leader and the party's position are positive because they reflect the will of members and supporters, which is to say, the UNC is reflecting the supporters' values and grievances. Notice, unlike the PNN, they never abandon their party during an election regardless of its transgressions. That is why Kamala's mantra of party before country is a rallying cry for those of her ilk. They do not see the annual parade as a visible expression of national pride. They see no benefit for them. However, the parade is just not pageantry for patriots. It showcases the discipline, unity, and service to country. Its traditions are deeply symbolic to our nationhood. No political party can nor should replace this love of country. I want to tell Mr. Lennox Shamchoy by the Prime Minister's comment of allowing America to come on our sovereign soil in the event of anything to fight another sovereign country tells you that they don't care about Trinidad, them don't care about independence, them don't care about sovereignty, them want to go back to indentureship and being under the white man rule because somehow they feel the white man does view them in a better light than he does view the African, and the African will be reduced to nothingness and slaves and all that. I think they firmly believe that. That's my opinion. So they don't care about all these things. That is why it is easy for the Prime Minister, in my opinion, to tell America, come on, we soil and do it here all they want. So let me continue. Let me continue because I have real things to talk about. So this is what Israel Khan would have said a while back. He said this was in 2020. And it goes to what Mr. Lennox is saying, that the supporters of UNC are putting it my way. They just forgive Kamala and whatever, and then just gel together as one, them don't care what. So this is what Israel Khan SC, Honorable Israel Khan SC, say in 2020. I cry shame on the UNC for protecting their selfish, narrow interests. They believe that if crime exists and there is a disruption in society, that will assist them in getting back into government because people will be fed up with the present government. That is very selfish. That is a very selfish approach in the politics of this country. And he still supports Kamala Prasad-Bissell. So he has said that. So they are just, to me, they are just talk that thing. That's my opinion because it probably sounds good. I don't think they really connected to what they're talking about. So in all this, what I'm saying here now, listen to what Kamala Prasad-Bissell would have said. This is what Kamala Prasad says. So Mr. Reynolds, if you're listening, listen to Shri here again.
You have to support your party. You say you support country before party. Well, go to hell. Go to hell.
So we get to there. And that's basically with CARICOM. You want to support CARICOM? Before you support your own self, well, go to hell. You want to support country? Before party, well, go to hell. Because they don't care about country. It's our individual thing. And Israel Khan SC say it's selfish. I've read a lot of stuff. I don't know if I haven't read for a while what Vishnu Vishram, his Guyanese Dr. Vishnu Vishram would have written, yes, that's his name, I think it is, when he said, while the Indians, I put it my way, while the Indians may have economic power in the Caribbean, what they lack is political power. And the reason for this is that when they're in government, it's not about good legislation or the people or making good laws or anything. It's simply about cocktail parties, first-class travel, corruption, kickbacks and contracts, work for friends and family. It's all about the Indian rule. It's nothing to do with the whole country as a whole. And those are the things, have we not seen those things? I will find it and read it to you, but not right now. So this was a while back in 2013. In the Guardian, it says, Embassy, no U.S. base for Trinidad and Tobago. Charge Affairs Embassy of the United States of America, Thomas Smithman, says that the status of forces agreement that is so far does not authorize the creation of permanent or temporary bases in TNT. And that would have been signed also under Kamala Prasad-Bissell in 2013, the SOFA arrangement. And the SOFA means status of forces agreement. And it says back then, it does not authorize the creation of permanent or temporary bases in TNT. He said he had seen references in the press to possible US military bases here. The SOFA was ratified on May 22nd during the visit of US President Joe Biden. In a letter to the editor, Thomas said, we cooperate with the government here to ensure that our joint efforts are as effective as possible. For years, we have held training exercises with the military to enhance readiness of the forces here. We recently updated the status of forces agreement to ensure that US military personnel can, if permitted by the government here, temporarily operate in Trinidad and Tobago. Operate in the sense of training exercises and all that, right? He said the US was currently party to more than 100 similar agreements. He said the agreement will facilitate participation by US military personnel in joint exercises and training activities, ship visits by the US Navy, and other cooperative activities with our defense and security partners in Trinidad and Tobago. It demonstrates that the Caribbean is an area of great importance for the US in the areas of economies or economics and security. Smithman said the US and TT were partners in helping to improve security and reduce narco trafficking in this strategically important region. He also thanked the citizenry for the warm welcome extended to President Joe Biden at the time. So this SOFA agreement that I want to Paramount say, Rowley, they signed the SOFA agreement. Kamala, that also signed SOFA agreement. But in the SOFA agreement, it was not for America to set up no base in Trinidad and Tobago. So let me continue. You see, facts. Facts. A hell of a thing, you know. So listen to Kamla Persad-Bissessar here.
Amidst criticism over her stance on the ongoing tensions between Venezuela and the United States, the Prime Minister is unbothered and unapologetic. And while the Prime Minister has been accused of causing a fracture in CARICOM through her unilateral support of the presence of the US Navy near Venezuelan waters, Persad-Bissessar said other CARICOM members stated their position even before her statement on Saturday. The Prime Minister told CNC3 News that CARICOM unity had been fractured before her comment, as St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada and Dominica had already backed Venezuela while condemning the US when it released a statement under the banner of ALBA, an intergovernmental group made up of Caribbean and Latin American nations. The Prime Minister said whether CARICOM likes it or not, the US has the capacity to disrupt the drug networks, and to partner with the Americans is not to undermine the Caribbean region, but to defend it. Persad-Bissessar said while people are calling for collaboration with CARICOM, it is the TNT taxpayer that is footing the bill for illegal Venezuelan migrants in the country. Kamla Persad-Bissessar said, like it or not, her government's position for the next 5 years will be Trinidad and Tobago first. The Prime Minister said thousands of citizens are being murdered, and she indicated that just yesterday, an elderly woman was sexually assaulted by someone believed to be an illegal immigrant. Persad-Bissessar said going forward, the country's foreign policy will be dictated mainly on what is in the best interest for the citizens of this country. Calling out what she deemed as the hypocrisy of Dr. Keith Rowley's condemnations, she said it was the same Keith Rowley who, as CARICOM chair, appealed for help from the US to combat a flow of guns into the region. The Prime Minister said the Caribbean is on fire, engulfed by the flames of illegal drug, gun and arms trafficking. And Persad-Bissessar said she's fed up of the talk, and even efforts by CARICOM have failed to produce a solution. She believes the US has now taken decisive action, and this country stands by it. The Prime Minister said the former government had no issue working with the Joe Biden administration, and if it is that the opposition and critics don't like President Donald Trump's politics and ideology, then that is their choice, and they should come out and say it. But as far as she's concerned, her government does not have to go along with their views. Meanwhile, Persad-Bissessar's backing of America has caught the attention of Venezuela's ruling party, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Persad-Bissessar said Trinidad and Tobago is standing by to be an American base if Venezuela invades Guyana over its claim to the Essequibo region. But the Venezuelan ruling party has called that position shameless, with its Secretary General adding that he's sure Trinidad and Tobago nationals are not proud of Persad-Bissessar's stance. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
See why we can't trust Kamla Persad-Bissessar, not Mrs. Swift. Listen to, she now says what is Trinidad first. Listen to her again here.
You have to support your party. You say you support country before party. Well, go to hell. Go to hell.
So what Trinidad she talking about come first? It's convenience. What it is that they've been offered? I just asked her a question. So she talk all that and said Dr. Rowley and them, they're hypocritical because they had asked America to come and help with the war on drugs and all that. Yeah, they did. Nobody is saying no. But they never tell America that they could come on we soil, set up a base and fight nobody. That is the difference, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. So don't try to gaslight people. Of course, the Caribbean will be happy America could come to help because they have been here that what the SOFA agreement is about. But you going a step further, you telling them they could come and wage war against the next country on we land. That's the issue we have, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. All they playing all this stupid. All they playing all this stupid and feel we stupid. The issue is not America coming to help fight with crime and drugs and that. That's not the issue. We happy for that. Always been happy. They have always been helping to train us. Look when you're getting the OPVs. As men from here, from the Coast Guard, I think went up, not America, I think they went and was training a whole year and wherever it is, men from SS and all that kind of thing. We have always been doing that, but nowhere, nobody has ever told America, come on, we land, and they could start a war from here. Now when they hear a boom, boom, you have to look out, you know. And it start no war from across here. That's the difference. So listen to what Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley had to say about the stupidness I want to talk, but he would have signed this and signed that. Yes, he did sign, but not for America to wage no war from here across Norway. Listen to Dr. Rowley.
To tell the world that we have entered into an arrangement, to tell Venezuela that we have entered into an arrangement, to tell Guyana and to tell CARICOM that this picture is representative of an action that we've taken with the head of Southcom, Admiral Halsey, and it's about us creating an environment where the United States can place troops in Trinidad and Tobago to respond to instability in Venezuela. Whoever did this is not acting in the interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And let me tell you why. I am so disturbed about this. You would recall, not too long ago, there was a situation where the United States government led arguments, OAS and the European Union, about regime change in Venezuela. And it got very heated, and it got to the point where people were expecting physical action. The European Union had given Maduro 8 days to leave office. The Canadians had said to us in CARICOM, time for talk over. And our question was, time for what now? And of course, the United States had its view on Venezuela and the details. You carried it in your media, you know all about it. How did Trinidad and Tobago react to that situation? Trinidad and Tobago, as a leader in CARICOM on that matter, took a leadership role to preserve the Caribbean as a zone of peace. And we headed to New York. The Prime Minister of Barbados and myself, we went to the office of the Secretary General of the United Nations to take a different position on the Venezuelan issue. We didn't stop there. We, again, Trinidad and Tobago, and this time the larger CARICOM, we went to Uruguay and took part in generating the Montevideo Accord, which was meant to prevent any instance of the breach of the peace in the Caribbean, supported by Mexico and Norway. All along, Trinidad and Tobago had a leadership role in that matter. And every stage of the game, you all in the media knew what your country's position was. You knew what the dangers were. You know what we were fighting off. You know what the successes were and what the failures were. I made my first visit to the UN General Assembly and spoke of Trinidad and Tobago's position on this matter. So the media in Trinidad and Tobago, you know our position. Why then would you convert that firm stand of your country to create a situation? What has changed to cause Trinidad and Tobago to be a platform for foreign troops on its territory in response to a Venezuelan situation? When in fact, only days ago, the Trinidad and Tobago minister in the office of the Prime Minister was in Caracas, talking to the Venezuelan leadership, as we talk to them all the time, and the Americans and others, because I was in Barbados talking to the American leadership. And CARICOM, as a unit, we cover and protect ourselves by standing on the defense of CARICOM. Caribbean is a zone of peace, and we are not supporting anybody's military excursion. What exactly happened in Trinidad and Tobago in the last 48 hours? This picture has nothing to do with any Venezuelan issue. This has everything to do with the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and the United States, which is a very good one. And of course, the conversations that we've had, if you listen, and in fact, the very paper that carries this story carries the details of what was said by Admiral Halsey about the issues that brought him here and the issues that were discussed and the commitment to cooperate with Trinidad and Tobago on matters, not the least of which is national security. That's what it's about. The local press cannot pretend not to know that our security agencies rely very heavily on the cooperation that they have with the United States. Many instances, the actions that we take here or actions that are taken in our interest outside our border in the region has to do with information or physical assets of foreign countries, not the least of which is the United States, helping us to protect ourselves because we don't have the ability to have as many assets out there or to have the intelligence as to who is going to harm us. And you read in the story what Admiral Halsey has said, as far as to talk about criminal elements coming from South America and threatening us now. I mentioned that from this podium recently. You would have seen during the COVID period, when the rest of the nation didn't have vaccines, among the first vaccines we got were some that came from a United States military agency to our defense force because of the relationship between them. In the last few years, the United States has put over $9 million in grants into the security services of Trinidad and Tobago. We have an ongoing relationship of training and sharing of information with the United States. And none of this is secret. None of it is secret. It's all about the relationship between two friendly countries, one with a lot of resources and one that needs the help. So where did you get it from that we are in a position to make Trinidad and Tobago available to the United States for troops against Venezuela? It's a serious matter. If a country is making its territory available for another country to stage military action against them, that is a serious matter. And if I don't come here today and as Prime Minister denounce this irresponsibility, if you were in Venezuela, what would you think? What would you think? And if you are in Venezuela where Trinidad and Tobago are negotiating with you on all kinds of important matters, but making its territory available for American incursions in the event that it is determined that Venezuela has instability, what would you think? I know that there are people in this country, surprisingly to some of you, who would like our initiatives to bear no fruit and to come to naught, but this is going too far.
Yeah? So that is Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and that was just last year, December, explaining the SOFA deal, that agreement he would have signed when people were saying he signed it for America to come here and wage on all them kind of foolishness. It wasn't about that. Kamala Kasabisa said he's using that today to say that Dr. Rowley would have did that. But I'm happy that he's able to explain things for himself. I want us also to listen to this new development.
Mr. President, first of all, everyone's made this comment already and needs to be echoed again. You were elected as the President of Working Americans, and that's why this Labor Day is so meaningful. For me personally, this is the most meaningful Labor Day of my life as someone with 4 jobs. And so, it's true. And, but on the point of, you made it very clear from the outset, even in foreign policy, everything we did has to be pro-American. It has to make America stronger or safer or more prosperous. And there's just a few things I want to touch to because it involves your team under your leadership making it happen. The first is, for the first time in the modern era, we are truly on offense against organized cartels that are pumping poison, killer poison, into our cities. And that's a team effort. It's Christie's team, it's Pete's team, it's Pam's team, and obviously it's under your leadership. And by the way, we're getting incredible economic international cooperation. Countries just in the last week, Ecuador, Paraguay, Guyana, Trinidad, today Argentina, all joining us or trying to be helpful in advancing this. And this just, one thing is we're going to stop drugs from coming in and we're having record seizures. But another thing is to build an international coalition against the scourge on the international stage. The second is mass migration, illegal mass migration, which is dangerous for the country but harmful for American workers. what's happening on the border is essential. But it's not just what's happening on the border. And again, Christy and her team have been essential in this. We have countries all over the world that are actually helping us, whether it's through safe third country agreements, whether through it's stopping the migration flow from coming here in the first place, incredible international cooperation. You've redefined our border. It's no longer just our physical border. We are doing things ahead of time to prevent this from happening and getting cooperations from countries that we've never seen before. And last, I would say, and Steve touched upon this, who, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. Steve is both a great negotiator and he's also a nice guy, which are two tough things to pull off together. But it's incredible. But we both work for the peacemaker in chief. Think about it, how fortunate we are as Americans to have a president who's made peace a priority. And just since the last time we've met, there was a war going on in Cambodia and Thailand, between Cambodia and Thailand. The president just picks up the phone and tells them to stop fighting, and within 72 hours, the fighting had stopped. You know, there's no other leader in the world that could have done it. And the fact that you were willing to spend time to do that and to make it happen is, of course, essential. And then the war that didn't happen because of Azerbaijan and Armenia coming here to sign that peace deal, which is historic in so many countries. You know how many countries said, oh, it's never going to happen, it isn't possible. And it occurred, Mr. President, because of your leadership. And then on a point of personal privilege, I wasn't even going to raise it. I haven't even talked to you about this. It's a little controversial, but I think I need to bring it up at this time of year. This thing about people getting married on Saturdays during college football season is a scourge, Mr. President. It's divided families. And I don't know if we can have an executive order on this. It's insane. But it's really difficult.
All that's important. All you heard. Latest developments would have included us with Argentina, Guyana, I think Ecuador, and somebody else, that we are part of the allies in the Caribbean. Okay? A little history.
In 1974, Grenada got their independence from the UK, but remained part of the Commonwealth. Before independence, Conservative National Party and the left-leaning Labour Party. But the Labour Party under Eric Gairy had created the Mongoose Gang, a militia used to silence opposition. Nevertheless, he had won the election of 1972, so he became Grenada's first Prime Minister, and he received aid from Chile's Pinochet. However, Maurice Bishop, a lawyer, set up an opposing group, the New Jewel Movement, a Marxist organisation. Despite uniting with the National Party, they lost the election of 1976, but because of the activities of the Mongoose Gang, many claimed the results invalid and violence began to break out in the streets. Then, in 1979, when Gairy was addressing the UN, Bishop and the New Jewel Movement seized power in a coup. Bishop banned all other parties, suspended the constitution, cracked down on opposition, and created the People's Revolutionary Army, the largest army in the region. But Bishop was still popular because, amongst other things, he granted rights to women and workers and improved the country's healthcare. Plus, he remained part of the Commonwealth, and despite their disagreements, he kept Paul Schoon as Governor General. Otherwise, he aligned Grenada with the Soviet Union and Cuba, and in return they helped build a large airport on the island. This airport worried America's Ronald Reagan because he believed it would be used by Soviet military aircraft. However, in October 1983, a faction within the New Jewel movement, led by Deputy Prime Minister Bernard Cord, demanded that Bishop either step down or share power with them. Bishop refused, so Cord placed him under house arrest. So Governor General Paul Schoon began seeking help from the United States and other Caribbean nations, so he too was placed under house arrest. Meanwhile, a large crowd demonstrated in the streets and freed Bishop. He fled to the Fort Rupert Army barracks, but after a firefight he was captured and executed on the 19th of October. By now the country was in uproar, so Hudson Austin, head of the army, forced Cord to step aside and formed a military government. To restore order, he announced a 4-day curfew, threatening to shoot anybody who left their homes. However, Schoon's appeal for help had been heard by the Conservative Prime Minister of Dominica, Eugenia Charles. She was then chair of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, and in turn she got support from the equally Conservative Prime Minister of Barbados, Tom Adams, and Edward Seager of Jamaica. And the United States responded to their calls for aid and prepared to invade. However, many suspect that Ronald Reagan had planned to remove the communists from Grenada beforehand. So on the 25th of October, around 8,000 Americans and 350 Caribbean troops invaded Grenada. The Americans sent Marines to assault the northeast of the islands, Navy SEALs, paratroopers and Rangers to attack the south, and Navy SEALs and Delta Force landed near the capital city of St. George's. Grenada had around 700 Cuban troops, and they had military advisors from communist nations like East Germany, the Soviet Union and North Korea. But they still only had a couple thousand troops and lacked the equipment to hold the Americans back. Paul Scoon was freed on the first day, and on the second day the Cubans were defeated near the airport in the south. And although there was some early resistance, by the third day this had largely waned and St. George's fell. Hudson Austin was sentenced to life in prison, Paul Scoon was reinstalled as Governor General, and the Americans remained in Grenada for a couple of months. The invasion was popular in America, but they faced backlash amongst the international community. For instance, Britain was angry because America had invaded a member of the Commonwealth, plus the United Nations overwhelmingly opposed America's actions. In November they voted 108 to 9 against the invasion, and many nations like Trinidad and Tobago said America acted illegally.
Right? Listen to this one, right? Just like history.
The International Court of Justice is the primary judicial arm of the United Nations, or the UN, and exists to resolve legal disputes among UN member states. In 1986, the court issued one of its most consequential decisions: military and paramilitary activities in and against Nicaragua, also known as Nicaragua versus United States, addressing covert United States activities in Nicaragua. In 1979, the Nicaraguan government of President Anastasio Somoza fell to a popular uprising led by the Sandinistas, who installed a new government. Almost immediately, armed resistance to this new government arose. The U.S. abandoned its initial support of the Sandinista government when it learned that Nicaragua was supplying aid to Marxist guerrillas in El Salvador. Thereafter, the U.S. began covertly to channel money, weapons, and other support to the Nicaraguan opposition, known as the Contras. In 1983 and 1984, U.S. military personnel mined Nicaraguan harbors and carried out attacks on Nicaraguan facilities. In 1984, Nicaragua filed suit against the U.S. in the International Court of Justice, claiming that the U.S. had violated both the UN Charter and principles of customary international law. Nicaragua asked that the U.S. be ordered to cease its operations in the country and pay reparations.
On Friday, gospel play you all the Bay of Pigs. That was in Cuba. You all still excited about Kamala Prasad letting America know that if Venezuela invade Guyana, that they could come on we land and do what they have to do. Well, they're still excited. I'm going to continue. Again, I have nothing against America coming in the Caribbean to help fight against drugs and human trafficking and all that. Yeah, they've always been helpful to Caribbean countries. My issue is giving permission to come on our land, our independent land, to fight anybody. That is where it lands. So when they want to talk as if people are against America coming to help with the drug trade, and no. That's not something they never did before. So let me continue. So I was looking at the effects of alcohol and diabetes. It says here diabetes and alcohol consumption can both impair cognition independently, and their combined effects, particularly with alcohol abuse, significantly increase the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Diabetes leads to vascular damage and inflammation, while alcohol negatively affects various cognitive functions, especially in older individuals or those with existing diabetes. Heavy or chronic alcohol use, in particular, can exacerbate the cognitive impairments already present in diabetics, while moderate alcohol intake potential protective effects are complex and debated, especially given the risk of hypoglycemia in diabetics, vascular damage. High blood sugar over time damages blood vessels in the brain, reducing blood flow and causing brain cells to die, which can lead to vascular dementia. Chronic inflammation is common in diabetics with elevated inflammatory cytokines are associated with worsening cognitive function. Blood type 1 and type 2 diabetes, both type 1 and type 2 diabetes can cause temporary cognitive deficits like slower processing speed, impaired attention, and reduced working memory during acute hypoglycemia. Better glycemic control is linked to improved cognitive performance, particularly in areas like motor speed and psychomotor efficiency, according to studies like the diabetic control and complication trial. Both moderate and heavy alcohol use can affect cognitive skills like comprehension, memory, concentration, and decision making. Heavy drinking is a known risk factor for cognitive impairment and dementia. Alcohol can cause or worsen hypoglycemia, like low blood sugar in people with diabetes, lending to confusion, dizziness, and other cognitive and physical symptoms. Synergistic damage. The combination of alcohol abuse and diabetes significantly enhances the risk and severity of cognitive impairment, especially in older adults. Diabetes or diabetics or diabetes is already a strong risk factor for dementia, and alcohol abuse appears to worsen this risk, increasing the likelihood of developing vascular dementia. While moderate alcohol intake in general population has been linked to a decreased risk of cognitive decline, this relationship is complicated in people with diabetes. Some studies suggest moderate drinking might be beneficial in diabetic patients by lowering cardiovascular risk, but the potential for hypoglycemia and interaction with diabetes management remains a significant concern. Prioritized glycemic control, maintaining good blood sugar control can improve cognitive function in people with diabetes. Excessive alcohol consumption is detrimental to cognitive health, especially of those with diabetes. People with diabetes, especially those with type 1 diabetes, should be educated about the risk of hypoglycemia when consuming alcohol and should avoid driving if they have been drinking. So that is just some health news there. Let me continue. And there's a reason why I would have read that, because you have always heard, not from me, Philip say, what's your name? Miss Verna say, all them say that the Kamala predecessor have a problem with alcohol. And she said, I understand that she's diabetic. And I'm reading the effects of diabetes and alcohol. And it speaks about dementia, not able to concentrate, memory loss, slowing motor function, like in walking and in talking. And when we see our honorable prime minister, we have seen her as opposition leader. We have always questioned, she tongue song in every so, she walking so, always have to hold on to the security gear. We hear Jack Warner say, Panda say, Jack Warner say she fall on John Kanganji statue. We hear Philip say she was singing and Jerry called he and said, oh God, the woman drunk and she's singing. He had to go and take. We heard all these stories. And this is 9 years later now. Has she stopped drinking based on what they say? Is her diabetes under control based on what she's saying? Then there's a conversation, she does smoke. She's a chronic smoker. I don't know if these things are true. But I've never heard her deny these things. And she's getting older now. They talk about older persons. So is our prime minister, when she makes these decisions, and she had this conversation, is she coherent when she's doing it? Is her cognitions working? Is she memory working? I don't know. I'm just asking. Just asking a question. I also quickly want to speak on, I'll just read a little part, poor communication. It says poor communication results in decreased productivity, misunderstanding, and conflict in personal and professional relationships. It can also lower morale, lead to client dissatisfaction, increase stress, and a higher employee turnover rate. Ultimately, ineffective communication can damage trust, hinder goal achievement, and negatively impact on organizations or individual reputation, right? Let me look at versus effective communication. So effective communication enhances productivity, fosters stronger relationships and teamwork, resolves conflicts, builds trust and loyalty, and boosts overall satisfaction and morale in both personal and professional settings. It provides clarity on goals, improves efficiency, and creates a healthier, more engaged environment where innovation and problem solving can flourish. So that is poor communication versus effective communication. And you know, we use our body to communicate and into dance, and our body is what we use to communicate in dance because we don't really speak. The eyes, the facial movement, the hands, the whole body, the posture, everything. And then communication can be done verbally and non-verbally, and there's sometimes a blockage to messages being sent. So you say one thing here, by the time it reaches across there, the message is completely changed. And if you have somebody insecure given a message, it makes it worse because then the person who gets any message has to figure out, I wonder if they mean this, I wonder if they mean that, what they're trying to say, whatever. So it's really important to practice effective communication. And you can pick up by people's body language if you're trained, whether they're nervous, whether they know what they're saying, by the eye movement. When you hear them speak, is it coherent? Is it collective? Is it connecting to the dots? All that. Pronouncing a word wrong now and then, that is nothing to do with any. That is not it. It is simply about not being able to connect things properly, not able to be clear in what they're saying. And you, after listening to them, you come away more confused because you don't totally get what they're saying. And if you ask somebody, say, well, I think they say so. Next one, they say, well, I think they say so. That is what poor communication does. You walk away and people don't have one collective thought. Everybody thinking something different because the person presenting wasn't able to be coherent in when they presented, right? So I want to just play this. This is MP Stuart Young speaking at the news conference. And listen to effective communication, because when I finish listening, people say I'm biased, that's quite okay. I can chew gum and speak at the same time. I'm able to understand what he's speaking about.
I'm asking the government today on your behalves and the board of NGC that SIS was properly terminated, and whether it was found that there was an overpayment to SIS of approximately $49 million, an overpayment found by the arbitrator, an overpayment to SIS of $343 million that must now be turned to the taxpayers and citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Further, was it part of the order that costs incurred after the termination are also to be paid by SIS to NGC in the sum of millions of dollars? And this is in addition, of course, to legal costs being awarded.
Mr. Young had questions about a current member of the company's board.
Furthermore, it was shocking to me that there is a current board member. I'm asking the question, is there a current board member of the NGC appointed by the UNC government who was part of the over-certifying of payments to SIS for this Beetham wastewater plant? Is there a current board member of the NGC appointed by this UNC government who was a person certifying overpayments to SIS with respect to this Beetham wastewater plant that we now know was properly terminated, and an arbitrator has awarded that hundreds of millions of dollars are to be repaid to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago?
Speaking at Balize House, the Port of Spain North St. Anne's West MP said the government must state why, if a ruling has been handed down, it has not been made public. There is
Yeah, so that is MP Stuart Young there. the police penal sentence was explaining that whole situation with the arbitration and the Beaton wastewater plant and asking whether or not that case has been settled and monies are to be paid back. But that was done all under the People's National Movement after the UNC, when the People's Partnership 2010-15, gave a contract to Mamu. I don't know if Mamu is in my name, Mamu, to build that Beaton wastewater treatment plant down in Beaton. And they say he never finished the work, but he get all the money and he go on, right? So that's another case of the People's National Movement fighting in the interest of the citizens to get back money that the taxpayers would have paid and not getting the job done. But we're not hearing if the UNC would have gotten the report or the judgment that says that citizens of this country, the government of this country would have won that case, and we are now due to get back all the money. So that's in there speaking about that. I saw him also put up this. He said, this is yet another example of the government misleading the country and worse yet, attempting to ignore and circumvent the rights of minority shareholders of a publicly traded company. There has been no annual general meeting or any extraordinary shareholder meeting appointing new directors to First Citizen Group Financial Holdings Limited, as is required by law. The UNC Dolly House behavior carries serious risk of a loss of confidence in this important financial institution, which has serious negative fallout, which can have serious negative fallout. Furthermore, I ask, has a central bank approved these individuals as fit and proper? This is a very dangerous development. Stuart Richard Young, SC, MP, August 27, 2024. What is he referring to? There was a media release that says, August 27, 2025. I hope I said August 27, 2025 when I was reading after I read that that post there by the minister, by MP. So this is what he was speaking about. Oh God, let me see if I could open this a little more. Minister of Finance appoints new board for First Citizen Holding Limited, Port of State. On Wednesday, August 27, 2025, the Honorable Devendra Tanku MP, Minister of Finance, presented instruments of appointment to new members of the Board of Directors to the First Citizen Holding Limited. The government has agreed to the appointment of the undermentioned persons as members of the Board of Directors. Mr. Sankar Bidesi, Chairman, Professor Sterling Frost, Deputy Chairman, Ms. Chris Let or something, so Smith, Director, the writer is small. Mr. Prakash Danraj, Director, Ms. Sandy Rupchan, Director, Ms. Joanne Budu Singh, Director, Ms. Michelle Granderson, Director, Mr. Jivan Lewis, Director. You all remember the whole bacchanal there with Kennedy Sarat Singh, Minister of Public Minister of Planning and whatever, development, whatever, and the confusion with the CEO of Central Bank, who he says she resigned and she said she didn't resign, and he writes she and she write back, and she, same kind of behavior he had with the Central Bank. So it's looking like they wanted the woman out so they could bring in the people. And what MP saying, there was no meeting. There was no annual general shareholder meeting. Now remember, First Citizen Bank is the government banking. If the bank, and here when the bacchanal had break out to the woman who they're trying to get to go, the shares in the bank fall. The banking sector and thing, them kind of shifty, any little thing. Investors start to pull the money, all kind of thing, and this is the government bank. The government own real shares in this bank. So this, listen, but it ties into something I'm going to play now for. It ties into what MP Edward said. He's another one would have communicated effectively what he was talking about. Listen to this.
ACC still owes money to all its contractors. ACC still have thousands of unfinished houses all over the country. Roads still need paving and patching. Contractors still need to be paid. Schools still need to be completed and built and repaired. They canceled all. They didn't spend 1 cent out of those loans. So I am not surprised at what Richard Walcott said, that they have given no money to Corporation for Goods and Services because they're doing that across the board. No money for MTS, no money for HTC, no money for the Ministry of Works.
He said the money from those loans are now in the account of the government.
They take all those loans. All of those loans had a purpose. $1.3 billion in total. They take all and they put it in Tanko bank account. That's what this loan is all about. Listen to this. And nobody wants to lend them money based on current liquidity levels. The government of Trinidad and Tobago's ability to easily or readily access funds on the domestic market has been severely constrained. That is technical language for the banks and want to lend them no money.
He wondered if the removal of the FCB chief executive officer has any connection with the bank's refusal to lend.
And you really have to wonder whether the departure, the forced departure of the CEO of First Citizens Bank is because she didn't want to go over her limit. She didn't want to breach the central bank regulations. And they were demanding that she give them billions of dollars in money. And she couldn't do it. She'd have lost her job. You have to wonder if they told her to resign because she didn't want to break the central bank regulations. You have to wonder.
Mr. Mbid said the government is running out of money to hold before the end of the fiscal year.
Right? Now, listen to this. You see this Professor Gosang, I think, in my opinion, you know, if he come in going blowing hot or cold, I don't know if he have andropause, menopause, stopper pause, woman pause. I don't know what it is going on with it. Because listen to him now. And to me now, like, when you listen to what comment both now city and all the plate that's happening there, because basically what comment both is saying is that all the money the PNM would have allocated to do projects, because they would have borrowed that for the schools, this, that this government, they ain't do no project. They put all the money into the government account. Well, if you put that in the government account, but you know what I'm talking about, right? I think we call it the consolidated something like that. That is superior current expenditure. So that is like for goods and services and salaries and wages and that kind of thing. So like they really don't have no money in truth. And let's just play wild with imagination what we come members talk about the reason why he's asking when you see the situation with the central bank woman who they're trying to get out. Is it because you know there is borrow money from the central bank? Because last time when the PNM come in after 2015, when they went to central bank to get money, because they have us to pay the 14%, central bank said, hey, it's no money, you know, they don't max out all that and take that already. So is it another case they must have wanted to ask, you know? The woman to approve some kind of money, we're going to say, no, I ain't doing that because I struggle, I jail. I just say it. I'm not saying that's what happened. And she refused because it looked like these people have no money. The country really have no money. It's looking so. And then you remember MP Stewart at the time of the Prime Minister and Minister Energy. You remember he said that in the manifesto of the UNC, the DP government, whatever, they talk about the value in the dollar to 15. I think 15 TT to 1 or something. So US, there was going to devalue the dollar. And with that comes, well, you know what? Prices will go up. Cost of living, everything. Not only that, loss of jobs. Not only that, when you can't get money borrowed from the bank and here and there and all kind of thing, the IMF. Are we going to experience an NAR experience where people lost their job, people went and put back the keys from Santa Rosa, who they couldn't pay for it, they lost the car, they this, that where we going? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to read something just now to tell all you where some of you put me, because I only was thinking, listen to the professor, the one who knows he coming up with, in my opinion. Listen to what he's saying.
Professor Hussain explains that the country's external reserves have plunged to nearly minus $1 billion, leaving the economy in a bad position. He tells us this shows the stock of reserves at central bank, less external debt, and is not related to the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. He further notes that as at July 2025, net official reserves stood at $4.816 billion, which represents 6.9 months import cover. Professor Hussain says with far less foreign exchange available, banks had to lower available monthly limits on credit cards, highlighting the severe strain on the nation's financial capacity.
We are in a very bad position as concerns the amount of money we have that we can lend to the public in one form or the other. Now, this is a rough number, but it's a good guide as to the net reserves position. And in that context, when you see the commercial banks slash the cap on credit cards down to $2,500 US per month, you understand why, because there simply isn't as much foreign exchange as before.
Professor Hussain warns that the economic pressure is already hitting businesses hard, with some small enterprises forced to close. He predicts that things may get worse.
And I don't think we have reached the bottom of the barrel as yet. I think it will continue to get worse. In fact, if you slash credit cards in that way, all the small business or a portion of the small businesses that rely on import for distribution and their credit cards to buy goods to sell would know they are facing what I would call a de facto devaluation.
Professor Hussain is urging the sector to focus on producing more goods for export, emphasizing that boosting trade is essential to ease the nation's financial pressures.
What we need to do now is to support this de facto devaluation with strategies that will help strengthen import substitution, so to get some of the entrepreneurs to, rather than import because it's more expensive and they can't get forex, to now produce some of those same goods and services within Trinidad and Tobago, that's import substitution, or to get some of these same people to produce goods and services that we can export. And that's where the low-hanging fruits comes in.
The Economist also highlights that according to data, the country's external debt has reached its highest level since 1956. Nicole M. Romani, TV6 News.
All they get warning. All they get warning. Member of Parliament now was Prime Minister would have said when they were going about campaigning in Houston, in the UNC manifesto, it speaks about the valuation of the dollar. Or they take that as a joke somehow, they who went vote and who didn't go and vote, and who tell people this is a black party, and Seo Jong is a Chinese, and this is a black party, and that they will vote the PNM now and they could lose, and we go build back because we did lost 33-3, and we did lost 29-12, and we build back. But they failed to put into the mix who were the leaders of the PNM when we built back and went back. That was Mr. Manning and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Different scenario, now I come into that. So let me come to this. Get us out of the way. So all the PNM peoples who have a problem with what I just say, well, they listen to this. And learn to chew gum and speak at the same time. Learn to be able to think critically and not with all the emotions. When you see I talking hype up, if you come and take my pressure, it is the same thing. I don't let emotion let me get carried away so that I don't know what I say. I always know what I say, no matter how upset I may get or not, because I understand words matter. And the spoken word, sometimes you just can't take back. So I always try to be on my P's and Q's. So I'm talking it straight. Let me talk the thing. So the Honorable Member of Parliament for St. Anne's East, Dr. Nyan Dolly Gaspy. There's a gentleman on Facebook who goes by, I can't remember his first name or something, Dr. Nyan Gaspy Dolly. What is she name? The Gaspy Dolly? Something Gaspy. I think Nigel or something so. You can't say nothing about she. He just jump in and start to want to insult you and say all kind of thing. Well, that's his right to do, that's his sister understand. But when people make their comments about her, It's not derogatory comments. It's speaking about behaviors and whatever. He does jump in and then everyone does hear him like a troll, you know. He does get on. Well, we does answer back to suit. Who choose to answer to suit? Now I see the next one here. Some David Beckles from Arima. Here we see. The Art of Silence for Retired Leaders. This was in the Express. It says, as a concerned and long-standing member of the People's National Movement, I am puzzled and frustrated by Dr. Keith Rowley's continued involvement in national affairs, despite his public retirement from active politics. What is his intention? Is it an attempt to destabilize Penny Beckles and have Stuart Young reinstated as leader? The few remaining active PNM members now witness a party adrift, lacking clear leadership and direction. Instead of allowing the new leadership to establish authority and rebuild trust with the public, Rowley interventions are creating confusion and undermining confidence. If the PNM is to regain its footing and relevance, it is essential that retired leaders respect the mandate of the current leadership. Continued interference only deepens international division and risk. Only deepens internal division and risks further eroding the party's credibility on the national stage. The PNM deserves a chance to stand united without the shadow of former leaders dictating its path. I want to tell Mr. David Beckles, you're blasted fast and out of place for a couple of reasons. No disrespect intended. You sounding very defensive for your sister. Because if your sister is a strong leader and a good leader, don't matter what Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley say, would not make an excuse. Not only that, in any country in the world, then has got to former leaders that speak on political things, social issues, and current events in the country. They still talk and call President Obama to this day to have a conversation. When Mr. Panda was alive, he spoke on UNC issues, even though he wasn't in UNC when they threw him out and come up with Sadly as the political leader and then became prime minister. He spoke on UNC issues, political issues, social issues. So what shit it is you talking? Mr. David Beckles, but Dr. Rowley should stay out of the politics because he retired. What asinine article is that you write, sir? All over the world, then Gary Griffith is no longer the commissioner of police and anything to do with the police, whatever it is, ended as call he. That is what you do. And they can speak out and then they always speak on issues. You could stop people from speaking on issues. That will take away from the upper. You know why it will take away from the political leader? Because just what I say, she's weak. Because no matter what Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley say, is she in charge? When he talking, could do that she? But it seems that only no, she's wholly inefficient and unable to do the job. So anybody talk all they feel is somebody coming at all. What they worry about Stuart Young so far? Stuart Young then go for the political leader position. He think he let all they go ahead with all the back and around confusion. And we know that election was not done correctly, the internal PNM election, because the deputy chairman of the election committee, whoever, he walked away, stating things wasn't right there. So guys are red flag. We know them internal election was not right. So if we're again harassed now, it's because of the conscience. But they know you. If you do things the right way, whether Dr. Rowley talk, whether people like Stuart Young, whether who talk about Stuart Young, you will not get no horrors. But all you know, all you do the wrong thing, and people talking about it, so they get horrors. Dr. Rowley talking can install anybody in anything. The man have a right, he's a 40-something years in the People's National Movement, in the politics. He served at all kind of levels and was very coherent, very vocal. Everybody understands and knows Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. On the other hand, your sister said that is your sister. She has been in several ministries and has been very unremarkable. Nobody can tell you what she done in those ministries. Whose fault is that? So she now trying to make a name for herself? You can't take a little jamming and you want position, you want to wear the crown and your neck is strong enough to hold the crown. Well, madam, you have to be able to take jamming, and if somebody talking against you, that is where you're supposed to put up your Gideon boots and show your grit. Now people running out to talk this asinine thing, but Dr. Roddy should stay out the politics. Why must he stay out? He has the experience and the knowledge. Only like to talk somebody old, but only deputy political leader, 2 deputy political leaders, they add them together, the age could be 140 something. Only have a problem with them, but only have a problem with Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I want to ask the PNM, this current PNM, yes, who don't like what I'm saying, they could come off the live, they could do what they want, that's all the business. I have an opinion. My opinion, I have one opinion. I can make that opinion based on what I feel or what I know to be the right thing. All let's talk with black party and black party and black party. Let me see. Election costs money. Election costs money. Let me see all the fight election successfully. We just stupid talk about black people and it's black party and black party. But before I come to that, let me continue with something. Let me just get something here. So, last night was the meeting in Movan. I think Movan, in Chris Birchwood constituency. So they had a meeting there, PNM had a meeting there, and that is where MP Colin would have spoken. And an individual who has always been cussing me, Darian Marcel, and Eric, because we support Stuart Young. And in her mind and whoever else mind, in the one PNM, that PNM is a black party, always talking about this blackness. And I said to myself, you're going. You see, people need to have understanding about things. It might be better, you see, a black organization that will lobby any government on behalf of people of African descent. I could deal with that. But don't tell me no foolishness about a black political party in a cosmopolitan state. It makes no sense. And last night I heard the individual say something. That's why I'm mentioning it. So they go and tell, she said she can make her next live and cuss me. The more she cuss me, the more God bless me. That's something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, that African people ain't need nothing for their children. I want to tell the individual, if your parents or whoever, they leave anything for you, don't put we. Or like I want to lump everybody together. Because your structural designs is a black man who left it for his black daughter, a young woman, and doing business in about 18 Caribbean countries. It has plenty black people leave things for the children. And some of the children smoke it out, drink it out, woman it out, man it out, all kind of things. Those are facts. So they operate as if African people don't leave nothing for the children. And if they didn't leave something physically for the children, they make sure the children get an education. They sacrifice to make sure the children get an education to get a job, whether it's a technical job, tradesman job, whatever job. That is leaving something for your children to, because they may not have had house to leave or what to leave, but they make sure the children educated. They're leaving something for your children. It have over 400, the amount of black businesses that have in this country running very successfully, they leave things for their children. So if your family or whoever you know family leave for their children, that is not the whole pity of the African community. So let's stop only crying on poverty on African people. It are plenty African people in this country. They may not be millionaires, but they're living good, living comfortable, they're trained, doing well, and they have. Again, I say, me and nothing with a black organization to lobby on behalf of people of African descent. But I do not agree with no black political party, because PNM is not a black political party. It may have at its base a lot of people of African descent who vote for it. And anytime we're talking about which would come like the UNC, it tells me it's speaking about not having no morals, no ethics, no values. And this one team, PNM, this particular one team, PNM, seem to be moving in the direction of no ethics, no morals, no values, anything goes. That's my opinion I'm giving this one team. So I want to ask the political leader of the People's National Movement tonight. I want to know if she endorses this particular individual, if she endorsed what she says, and if this is the David Naked of the People's National Movement. Because when David Naked and Philip Alexander and Alan Roberts Stew, they hate and nastiness, we just say the political leader and the PNM, and the Prime Minister, or at the time of when she was opposition leader, she had to know about it. We just say that. We just say it can't be done without her knowing it. Because when Vanilla Allen Toppin, that says she nastiness in the parliament, she was endorsed by Nulan Munilal and them. So I want to ask the political leader of the People's National Movement if they endorse this individual. I want to show you something, but let me read this first. So the Honorable MP for Sentence West read something that is all over the Facebook now. Out of hatred for the cockroach, the ants voted for the insecticide. I want to ask you, who created the hatred for the cockroach? I want to know who is the ants and who put hatred in the ants for the cockroach. I want to ask you that because we hear they say PNM people was going in constituencies like Labre and down Maruga side and telling people don't vote for the People's National Movement. So I want to know who ants or they put hatred in for the cockroach because they say it can apply to the system here. So let me apply it this way. Who is the ant that all they put hatred in? All them put so the PNM voters. Who is the PNM voters? All they put hatred in for Stuart Richard Young and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley that they went and voted for the UNC, the insecticide. Huh? You said they all died, including the housefly that didn't even vote. Who encouraged the housefly or the PNM voter not to vote? Out of hatred for Stuart Richard Young and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And you could see there's a hatred because look, the political leader brother write this thing here, this short little thing, but Dr. Rowley should stay out of politics because he retired. Why? Why he must stay out? Having said that, let me show you what I'm talking about.
Good evening. So tell us, you're here early this evening, you're ready to go. Tell us.
Yeah, I'm here to represent my opposition leader. Will be soon Prime Minister.
So you're basically just here to represent.
Yeah, to represent, yeah.
But many will say, Ms. Melba, that you're pushing this kind of black agenda in the PNM. Why would they think that you pushing this black agenda in the PNM?
You see the hypocritical thing about black people, two hypocrites. And the most of the hypocrite people is black people. So we always talking about black people and getting this and black people and getting that. And then when you talk black, they vex. You understand? If the only group of people, Devon and the Bronx up members, if the only black people, if the only group of people, don't leave no inheritance for our people, for our children to come, our children to come, everybody here. Chinese, Indian, the Syrian, Everybody that leave inheritance, that come to make money to leave inheritance, if that's a thief, if that's a beg, if that's a whatever they have to do. They do all of that for their inheritance. My child ain't born yet. You understand? And when we talk that we want to do that too, and we want to see something happen to black people, we want to see goodness for black people, if people beg to give because you took them black. So black people must get nothing at all, at all, at all, at all, at all. And the biggest haters for black people is black people different. And I have no apology whatsoever saying I want a black PNM. I have no apology for that. Not to say that I don't want to have Chinese in it, Indian, but just like the UNC. It's an Indian party, but they have African people there. There are Chinese people there, everybody there. But you know what? You know the whole thing about it? Indian people get the whole thing. They get the maturity, they get the contract, they get this and that. You know, simple contract where African people used to get. That is the pavement and the canal. We used to get that contract, we're not getting it again. We're not getting it again. So we want them, we want back something. We're not getting nothing. And when we talk black people vex with you. The only people getting vexed with you for talking black is black people.
Stems. Yes, I can hear them saying, boys, stop living in the past. Where can I find that energy, the raw magic that comes down from the grassroots? Yes, I'm from a place where soca they resound.
So asking the political leader again. Everybody feel for their opinion, you know. That's the reason why I'm saying this. Asking the political leader again and Dolly, which Dr. Dolly Nyangaspi. Are you all endorsing this individual? Because this individual, I don't know if that's the new face of the PNM, the black PNM, that'll be cussing obscene language and cussing and lying on people on Facebook. That is the new PNM. That's all they comfortable with. All they embrace you and smile, man. Nothing wrong in that. All they embrace you and smile. But all they have a problem because we say we support COTO. Always you want to hypocritical. So all of us support who they want to support. We don't want to make no life and cost nobody and tell nobody to support Stuart Young. We don't cost nobody. But the opposition leader and political leader PNM and Dr. Gaspi, all they embrace the woman who will be costing African people, 3 African people who are members of the People's National Movement, costing them stink and all embrace she. I want to know if all endorsing that. Don't want to get talk and all they can't take talk, you know, Dr. Gaspi and political leader, because nobody don't cuss all the people are just talk the truth. So I want to know if that's what all endorsing. And that's what all endorsing. All they can be telling people, come back. And it's a love and a togetherness when all they have who all is endorsing, if all they endorsing, saying them kind of thing. And then all they want me to believe that the political leader is a strong leader or a good leader for the PNM. Waste a blasted time. I say so. As one person alone saying so. Yeah? So let us go and make the life and cost. But I needed to show it tonight. I needed to show it tonight the inaccuracies about African people don't leave nothing for the children, the inaccuracy. And to talk about contract, we hear the contract, drain and all that. Why you ain't talk about building house, building schools? Why only drain you're talking about? Why so low? You want for black people? Well, talk big. Talk about building school, building skyscrapers. That's to talk about. No building no canal alone. Because, you know, you're talking black. So we can't do other contract other than just drain alone. I just asking a question. And again, it is incorrect to say African people don't leave nothing. We're the only people don't leave nothing for the children. It are plenty Indian people who leave nothing for the children begging all over the place. What are we talking about? It are people in the Syrian community who leave nothing for the children. Because everybody does leave everything for the thing. It might be plenty. But you all let us talk about the African community alone. We so down and stop crying down. It's all who bringing down the African community with all the negativity. It's not we. It's only because every time all they talk about poor and suffering. All they never come and talk about the successes in the African community. Lana Products is a black man. His sons and them working with it too. Them selling Lana Products all over, all them groceries all over. The biggest grocery in Tobago is an African man. Mount Irvin tennis and with golf course and thing is African. And I could call out the amount of African businesses have in this country. Real estate, we own that too. All on St. Vincent Street, all on Park Street. The Smart family. I don't know if Carl Hudson Phillip and them a family alive ever. He own buildings and stuff on Park Street, real estate. All they don't talk about our history, all they only come in with the history right through. African people poor and they don't get nothing. And African people poor and African people, that's all they're talking. Poorness right through. Talk about the successes too. Talk about Kareem Marcel as success. Talk about Beatam as success. It's a real business in Beatam. I went in Beatam already. Juliet Davy and them came in Beatam. They went to pick up something. I was shocked. Beatam a big RC church. Big this church. Pharmacy. You had to have a person training medicine to be in the pharmacy. They had grocery. Not a parlor. They have food. This, food, that. Talk about those things. And that is the community people that say, it's like ghetto. Talk about that. Talk about all the people elevate themselves. They didn't want to come out Beatam. It's a clothes store, food, grocery, medicine, school, church, everything right there is self-sufficient. But you always come to talk about poor and poor. Yes, we have poor people. Yes, we have some of we only doing good. But talk about the successes, so let's never talk about that because it's all I want to keep African people in a state where they're begging hands out and only crying, what we gonna do? We're hungry, we're working. That's what I want people to do. So as I say again, I want the political leader, Mrs. Penelope Beckers Robinson, and Dr. Nyan, Dr. Dolly, Dr. Nyan Gatsby Dolly, to ask whether they endorse that individual. Answer we, and anytime all they answer and say nothing because all they saying yes, all they endorse she. And we know, once all they say all they endorse her, we know where the mindset of this one team PNM is. And tell me about 2030 is nothing for PNM with that kind of mentality and thinking. So if the fear of the one team is Stuart Young, all they ask, all they self-wise, all they fear Stuart Young. With Stuart Young, he has horn. He just come up in all the business half the time, all they do invite him. He just come in all the business, he just interfere with all there, he just tell all anything. If all they call him to do something, he can do it, he do what he has to do. Because at the end of the day, he's a member of parliament. We're only talking about Stuart Young and Dr. Ronnie for because all they insecure, because all they know how they get the position. That you're not entitled to it. Because go about and do your business, forget Dr. Rowley, forget Stuart Young, and do what you have to do. But you're not a leader. I say so. I, Jennifer Fredericks, and Jennifer Fredericks, I say so. Penelope Beckers Robinson is not a leader. And it has nothing to do with me liking she. She's not a leader. And all they want to sit down and be deceitful and but, oh God, well, it's a black woman. Let me give she a chance to order to deceitful. This mediocrity, all they want to continue to impose on African people. It is wrong. You could support and still talk the blasted truth. So that is my question to the political leader and which is the lady chair of the Women's League. Are they endorsing this individual? Let me just play this as I leave. This happened today.
Additionally, we also have the Minister of Homeland Security, Mr. Roger Alexander. Put your hands together for the distinguished guests we have in our presence. Right?
Right, that there is somebody would have taped that the Prime Minister Kamala Persad had she fell at some function she was at. And I don't know if it's the person who taped that was laughing, but somebody was laughing at the end. I don't recommend people laugh at people when they fall down, but everybody react to things differently. Because I was telling somebody today, and I have a friend who does watch me right through, she will tell on me. She for a long time was walking, coming from, I think it was Metal Box, when it's a Metal Box. But it had a little hole on the pavement. But while I walking and talking to her, I see she going down and going low. So I was asking, what's going on? When I look, she foot going down in this little hole. I don't know how much, man. I helping, she, you know. But tears coming out my eye. I laughing to me, you know what to do with myself. I laughing to my Anthony Bolin, Jenny laughing, and I Bolin, no, I'm not laughing at you. I helping she out, watch me now. When she foot come out, it's a scratch on thing, whatever. And it was like an uncontrollable, and I wasn't laughing because I wasn't empathetic or not. I don't know. It happens. It may not be the right thing, but it happens. Let us be real. So I'm seeing people saying, again, I'm thankful. I heard that the Prime Minister is okay. She didn't suffer any injuries or anything. I'm happy about that. Taking a spill at that age, you have to be so careful. I am all getting older. I too have to be careful. The bones are not how it used to be and that kind of thing. But I want people to understand something. You see, just telling people, oh God, don't say nothing. You must have compassion and don't say nothing bad. And some of it blasted deceitful. Some of it, all mind, all it blasted good. All they know that. So don't come and not pretending, but come, let me have compassion. And let me, yes, we should. But let people go through the real feelings too now. Because you're saying you have compassion and some of it, all mind, all good for you. The only kind of thing should be doing and saying and very good for you. Some of it saying that. Will it be wrong to say that? It is human. It may not be the sensitive thing to say, very insensitive. It is human, but let me be real. And we can still have the compassion, but let people be real. Because I remember, it's not comparing, I just joined example. When MP Siotiong was coming off the stage, and when he put his foot on the step, it separated from the stage. They didn't fasten it to the stage. And he fall down and damage his shoulder. The kind of things they say is what they forget to say. Who wasn't laughing, who wasn't this, or they didn't find nothing wrong with that. They say what I want to say, but today, unfortunately, the Prime Minister fall. And oh God, really have compassion on nobody shouldn't, or they shouldn't. Come now, all they need to stop being hypocrites. Again, I'm not saying I happy the woman fall or I rejoice in it. I am happy that she's okay. But I'm making a point. Stop being hypocrites only. If only one can have compassion and sorry and think that is all, they don't tell other people how to feel. And that is what we like to do. Especially in the PNM, I'm talking PNM now. Tell me how to feel. Let me move on and forget that now. Forget that, let me move on and just support Sheena. Let's forget that now. Why must we? How will you get healing if every time you're telling people to move on from a situation where they're hurting from? Let us talk about it, get the hurt out, and then we can move on. But don't tell me, because you're comfortable with it, I must be comfortable, so let me move on. So you ain't care about how I feel. It's just about how all I feel. So support the political leader, because we must come together as one to have a united front. Because all they need people not to support. But when all they need people, all I forget what Naim Garcia was telling people, if you can't basically say, if you can't conform, they should put them out and all kind of big mouth. You wasn't studying people listening and who hurting, still listening to that. You didn't have no compassion there. But all they want people to have compassion for it. All the very unfair. It's the same thing with the Prime Minister. Again, understand the context. Everybody wanted to have compassion for the Prime Minister. She fell down. What compassion they have for the 10,500 CPEP workers, mothers, fathers, single parents who hungry now, can't buy school books, who can't pay the rent. Like the man who commits suicide. His wife was working in the reforestation. 12 months to work one time. He killed himself. That wife have to live with that and the children have to live with that. Who have compassion for them? Verenja Mohat, whoever she name is, she have compassion for them when they come down by the Ministry of what you call it, social welfare, whatever. They tell them follow this, follow that. When they carry back, follow this, follow that, and how the woman and them saying like they want me to beg. Who have compassion for them? Who have compassion for the over 30,000 people that fire? They come in even 4 months good, in 2 months' time. Who have compassion for them? But everybody must have compassion. The Prime Minister fell down. Have compassion. Have compassion. Do this, do this. Or they're too blasted, hypocritical. Again, understand the context. And we're talking, there's one sitting out a time. And I am happy the Prime Minister is well. She was able to continue. Accidents do happen. But he continues telling people, oh God, all do have compassion, whatever it is, all to blasted hypocrite, because some of them all their mind saying that blasted good for what they do, the CPR program. Because see somebody put people tears and fall on the ground. Let me be real too now. When we start being real, we can really start to build something good in this blasted country because we have a blessed country. I want to just tell everybody, and I'm going to see all who here. I went a little late tonight, but it is sometime. I have my so let me see all who here. Ben, or Van, Joycelyn, Anne-Marie, Hadara, Sadina, Annette, Patricia, Aaron 001, Miriam, MH237, David Clark, Ann Shepherd, Emmeline Harvey. And let me just some names out right. Only address an event that you all there, and I ain't short all out. So Margaret Davison, Yvette, Angela, Ganga, Lorna, Sarah, Emmeline, Christopher, Erica, Keith, Charles, Chris, Anne, Ophelia, Andrew, Alison, Helen, Russell House, Pleasantville, Roxanne, Melka, Bolty, Hadara, Ruth Finn, Dr. Lois Straker, Lucy, Cheryl, Alison, Germanius, Lazar, Francia, E.A. Shorty, Bernadine Andel Joycelyn, Augusta Skater, Victoria from Sawa, the woman from Yeps, McDonald, Katia, Raymond Felician, Elise, Joyce, Margaret, Angela, and everybody else who are locked on tuning to the talk the thing. I want to thank you all for your support and thanks for staying with me so long. It's time for me to get out of here, but again, I'm saying, and I ain't taking back what I say because I don't talk with water in my mouth. I don't talk things to hurt nobody. I talk it. I give an opinion. I read the articles or play the videos, and I can have an opinion, as I said. And I want, again, the opposition leader to answer whether or not. She don't have to answer me because me ain't important. But her silence will say plenty. That is my opinion. It's just like when they asked Orange Mohit, whoever she named, if she's the one that make it as she born with her, she pamper them outside, they ask she got on I-95.5, she didn't say it's not she, so we say she. So if we ask him, because this individual have been on the meetings, it's her right to be there, it's her right to support who she wants to support, I the woman right. Me have no problem with that, right now my interest. But should I be cussing? Continue, and not that I can't take cuss. Cussing doing me nothing, because I could cuss too. Cuss is nothing. Everybody could cuss. I could good cuss if I feel to cuss. I choose not to cuss. So the cussing is not my issue. The issue is the things that you're saying, and then you see the opposition leader hug you up, and Dolly hug you up. So it's like they get a mouthpiece. I just asking. Because let me tell you this, if that is only a mouthpiece, all the vexing people talking on behalf of Siojong, and Siojong will tell me what to say, and he will tell me what to say, and I don't have to cuss nobody to make my point about Stuart Young. So what that says about all you, I just asking a question. So people have a blessed night. I love you all. See you all on Friday. Go spend a comment something, try something new. This is your Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formulas, Miss Jennifer Frederick, another edition of the We Told the Thing. I know there are a lot of people not comfortable with the things I don't be saying, but check yourself and ask yourself why you're not comfortable. I am not the problem. I'm definitely not the problem. So have a blessed one. So, directors, listen. Let me wrap up this thing. Let me get this song. People see you on Friday. Go spare director. Where the music?
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we're fighting war. Of course, we have the delinquents to face. But just like any other place, look, the things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear. Because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness. And in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body. No bickering between you and me. For our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I'll go send my wife. And then he'll tell you, he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners to recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them were talking, they either drunk or they're steering mad. Or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper won't tell you why. Now our steel band is the best talent in this world. Like calypsos or stories are told, with this rhythm to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my birth, small but overwhelming in worth. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth.